never claimed to be perfect. My mistakes are all written in ink. None of us claim to be perfect, and it's sad if that's what you all think. Our flaws help to make us special. They bond us and keep us strong. Our flaws are what brought us together, so stop acting like something's wrong. We're not flawless, we're a work in progress. We've got dents and we've got quirks, but it's our flaws that make us work. Yeah, we're not flawless, we're a work in progress. So tell me what flaws you got too, 'cause I still like what's flawed about you. They say I'm a big shot, that my ego's the size of a whale. My confidence comes off as cocky, but it gives me the courage to fail. Sure, I can be a drama queen, a bit stuck up, it's true. And I can be too eager to please. There's such thing as being too honest too, 'cause we're not flawless, we're a work in progress. We've got dents and we've got quirks, but it's our flaws that make us work. Yeah, we're not flawless, we're a work in progress. So tell me what flaws you got too, 'cause I still like what's flawed about you. Ponies think I'm all bubbles and laughter, that I don't seem sincere. I might joke around a little too much, but I'm just so happy you're here. It took me a while to be confident, to really come out of my shell. But no pony has to be perfect. By now, don't you know us so well? Because yeah, we're not flawless, we're a work in progress. We've got dents and we've got quirks, but it's our flaws that make us work. Yeah, we're not flawless, we're a work in progress. So tell me what flaws you got too, 'cause I still like what's flawed about you.
Good afternoon, Whinny City! Yay! Welcome to Keeping Friendship Magic, We're Not Flawless. My name is Forward Progress. I am a social scientist from Pennsylvania who made the wonderful 12-hour trek through all kinds of toll roads to get here so I can talk to y'all about science and friendship. Yay! If you haven't been to a Keeping Friendship Magic panel, basically what I do is I fuse social science and social concept with the lessons we learn from My Little Pony in the hopes that we can all kind of learn a little bit more about how to take what we've seen on the show and bring to reality. That song we just watched gave me the spark to make this panel. I had wanted to do one about a couple of these concepts for a while, and then that episode aired, and I'm like, thanks, M.A. Larson. You gave me something to put this together with. I tell you, I think it's my job to just bug Mitch every time I see him too. So what we're going to talk about today is about the concepts of perfection, of how we have expectations not only of ourselves but of others. We're going to talk a little bit about how we interact with our heroes and role models. We're going to talk about the concept of redemption, which is a huge, huge theme of the series. So we're going to start right away with talking about something that I believe in truly, and it's my belief that I start every single one of my Keeping Friendship Magic panels with, and my belief is that bronies have the power to change the world. Anybody else agree with that? One. Thank you. I got one. But I've been studying fandom for a few years now, and I've presented at anime conventions, I've presented at pony conventions, and one thing that I really feel is that there's a lot we can learn in fandoms and fandom interactions that we can use to bring to the broader scope of our world, to learn how we can get along together better and solve our kind of big real world problems that are a little bit bigger than who is best pony. So we're going to start talking today about this concept of the flat out, no pony is perfect. And we really got this in season 4, all of season 4. So let's kind of have a little breakdown.
I've been reading our journal, and there's something interesting about the sections that Discord bookmarked. Applejack, do you remember when you had to tell every pony that the tonic Granny bought from the Flim Flam brothers didn't really work?
How could I forget? It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. hate to disappoint every pony, but there's no way Granny could have made that dive because this tonic is a fake! But in that moment, I knew I had to be honest. I just knew it. But what's that got to do with opening the chest?
I found that each of you has had to face a situation where living up to the element of harmony you represent wasn't easy. Fluttershy, it was when you realized that the way to show kindness to the Breezies was by forcing them to leave your home.
Oh, the looks on their poor little faces. But I knew that as difficult as it was, pushing them away was the kindest thing I could do.
Rarity, even after Surrey took advantage of your generosity at Fashion Week in Manhattan, you didn't let it cause you to abandon your generous spirit.
I simply couldn't have lived with myself if I didn't do something special for the friends who have always been so generous to me.
Rainbow Dash, you had the chance to fly with the Wonderbolts at the Equestria Games, but instead you chose to compete with your friends.
Sure, but being loyal to my friends was
Wait! Oh, my turn!
Pinkie Pie, you realized that seeing your friend laugh was more important than proving you were a better party planner than Cheese Sandwich.
best party I've ever had!
All of you had tough choices to make, but when you made the right one and embraced your element, it helped some pony else make the right choice too.
The thing about Season 4 is, let's face it, if everyone was perfect, if every pony was perfect, Season 4 wouldn't even exist. They never would have opened the chest. They had to overcome some kind of difficult choice. And we're all going to have that. Everyone at some point in life faces a difficult choice, and it's hard to figure out, what should I do here? What is the right call to make? And sometimes it feels like there's not a right call to make. And you really have to dig down in yourself. And sometimes you're going to mess it up, too. Let's talk about Rainbow Dash, for example. Rainbow Dash starts off, going with the Wonderbolts and really just ignoring her friends entirely, ignoring both Biceps and Fluttershy for the relay, and completely kind of like letting their training go downhill, so to speak. And only when she realized, what she was doing, and she had to make that difficult choice, and deep down in, was she able to kind of do the right thing. Granted, if she would have said right away, hey, I have this opportunity, that could have gone a whole other way. And that's one of those things about learning what to say at the beginning. I want to talk about another episode. We'll dig a little deeper into One Pony's episode in Season 4 that I really feel sums up a lot of that, having to make difficult decisions and not knowing right away which one to make.
Charlatan sold my granny a bottle of tonic, and now she's off acting like a filly again.
What's so bad about that?
If she keeps gallivanting around like a yearling, she's apt to drop from exhaustion, or worse. What's more, I know for a fact that your friend here is dressing up as a different pony every night so he can pretend to be cured.
Oh, well, that's quite an accusation.
But let's say that it's true.
Hypothetically,
Theoretically,
as I understand, your granny was a famous aqua pony.
the star of the show once upon a time.
But hasn't set so much as a hoof in the water since.
Until today, that's right.
Well, then even if our tonic were nothing more than a mixture of apple juice and beet leaves,
Hypothetically,
theoretically,
the fact is that Granny is happier now than before she tried it.
I guess.
so the question is,
Do you really want to be the pony who takes all that happiness away?
There you are! I've been looking all over. Did you find out what's in the tonic?
Honestly, Apple Bloom, as long as it works, I don't suppose it really matters.
Everyone makes mistakes. Every single one of us. We try so hard to live up to this idyllic expectation of ourselves that we want to be perfect in every situation. And the flat out reality is, it's not going to happen. You're going to make a mistake. If you were here for Friday's panel, I discussed Moon Dancer and Amending Fences, and how Twilight really didn't necessarily do anything wrong in the series premiere by leaving to go, because she had to, else Nightmare Moon would never have been stopped. We found that out in the season 5 finale. However, there still was that pony that she hurt, and she had to own up to the fact that her actions have consequences. And that's one thing we all kind of have to keep in the back of our minds is regardless of how much we try to strive for perfection, to do the right thing at all times, every once in a while, we're gonna slip up. Doesn't mean that you can just be like, oh, it's okay if I slip up all the time, I'm just gonna make every mistake in the world. You probably won't have too many friends if you just let yourself feel like that. However, it's important to remember that you are going to slip up, and every time you do, is to take count of that and what it means to your personal growth in your future. The most important thing about us is that human beings have the capacity to better ourselves, to learn from our mistakes, and that is the most crucial thing we can all do, is when you make your little mistake. For example, Applejack here, in that, like, oh, I'm just gonna let this slide, and let this be. She learns later how much of a mistake that was, and we're gonna take a look at that.
To disappoint every pony, but there's no way Granny could have made that dive because this tonic is a fake! But you gave it your stamp of approval!
Are you saying you lied?
I am. I didn't mean to, but every pony seemed so much happier. I couldn't bring myself to tell you when I found out the tonic wasn't real. I know it was wrong. I just hope with time I can win back every pony's trust.
But if the tonic is a fake, then how come Granny can swim again? And what about all that acrobatic stuff we just did?
I reckon sometimes you can forget what you're capable of, and it just takes a little extra confidence to remember that it was inside of you all along.
I chose that episode because of the element of honesty. And that's the thing I feel like, no matter what out of all the elements, honesty is that one that I feel, hold that to your core no matter what. Because if you're honest in two ways, honest not just with everyone around you, but honest with yourself about what feels right to your gut. Applejack never felt comfortable lying about the tonic. She wasn't being honest with herself, and therefore wasn't being honest with every pony else. And ergo, Granny almost did a ridiculous dive into a pie tin that was about this high, which I really don't know how any pony would have survived that period, let alone Granny Smith. But the other reason I chose that clip too is the concept of the placebo effect. The concept of that there is that reality that sometimes there are those things we can use to give us that boost, and being kind of acknowledging that within ourselves, that there are things we can use to help boost our self-esteem. And a lot of times we're capable of more than what we think we are. The human body is capable of so many things. Like adrenaline can cause people to lift cars to save people and things like that. These things have happened. So imagine the possibilities that exist that are within you. Always remind yourself, people have done crazier things than this X thing I think I can't do. Don't let yourself get down. And if it takes a little something to boost it up, that's fine. Just know that that power is within inside of you at all times. So, we talked a little bit about the fact that no pony's perfect. Obviously, it's something to keep in mind. Now, the other side of that coin is the concept of forgiving yourself. I know for myself, I've suffered from clinical depression and generalized anxiety since I was about this tall. It has been a pain in my butt for a long time. And one thing that happens with me is that my mistakes play in my head over and over and over again. It's been very difficult for me to forgive myself for what I did and own up to it. And it takes a little bit to get everybody else to go, okay, that's part of it too. Let's take a look at this with Fluttershy here.
Please, just leave me alone.
Am I right?
Fluttershy, what's wrong?
We want answers!
Yeah, we're entitled to know!
What is it, every pony?
We want to know why Fluttershy keeps learning the same thing over and over again. Be assertive already!
Even I've learned more than she has. Why can't I be in the book?
What? Really? Are you attacking my friend because you want to be in a book? It's okay. I got this, girls. Listen up! I am more assertive. And yes, Took me a while to get there, but can you honestly say that you could learn something one time and completely change who you are? I didn't think so.
Wow. You're way different from the Fluttershy in the book. I don't know how I feel about that.
It took Fluttershy seasons to become more assertive. And even still, as we saw in last week's episode, she still is going to have her moments. Yeah. There's still going to be things that push us. It's important to not beat yourself up. I've done that so many times. Anybody who suffered from a little bit of stress or anxiety, you might have felt like this.
Number 15, let's go!
Rarity is ready.
Look, ladies, I don't know what to tell you. There's only time for one more performance. If you both want to compete, you'll just have to go out there together.
Well, Rainbow Dash, shall we?
That little clip, to some people it may seem a little extreme or over dramatized for TV. For me, that was very real. I had those moments where I basically was lying in the fetal position, where I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed to go do something. I spent an entire summer as a kid basically in bed because I was too afraid to face the outside world. Stress and anxiety can do so much to a person, and it's about time we recognize that as a society, and we own up that it's Sorry. It's still there. You're good. Don't worry, honey. You're good. We're not flawless, but anyway. I need a rim shot thing on my phone app or something. But I lost myself. There's I saw something online one day about where somebody had called off to work and told their boss they needed a mental health day, and a lot of people are scared to do that, and their boss actually replied to them saying, I'm really happy that you can recognize this within yourself, that you can take this and own up to this. That honesty that we need with ourselves and with others that we talked about in that last segment is crucial to understanding the real effects of things like stress, like depression, like anxiety, being honest about it, being able to have these discussions. We're afraid to do it a lot of times, and it's a big thing to face it not just within ourselves and have these conversations about, why am I holding this within myself? What am I doing to myself? And looking at how do we get better. A lot of that is through friendship, through being able to be confident enough to have those conversations with those others around you when you're feeling down, saying, hey, this is happening, and I just need to talk it. Sometimes we just need to vent and get it out of us. I know I do it sometimes. My honey here can vouch for that. You just have those times where you need to get things out. But it's important, again, I said about forgiving yourself. Don't beat yourself up if it takes a little bit. Just remember what Fluttershy said in mid-season 4, I think this is.
You did it, Fluttershy!
See? That wasn't so bad.
And you didn't look completely petrified by the fact that we're all staring at you at all!
How do you feel?
Surprisingly, okay.
Fantastic! Because the Ponytoes have been booked for the Apple Family Zap Apple Jam Extraordinaire!
Oh no, I couldn't do that.
How Fluttershy!
Seriously?
I'll get there someday, but for now, baby steps, every pony, baby steps.
Baby steps. It's okay to take baby steps. If you're taking baby steps, it means you're moving in the right direction. You're going the right way. You're doing little things to help yourself. You may not be able to conquer things in one day, and that's okay. A lot of times, and I do this with myself to this day still, is I will beat myself up like, oh, I wanted to get this done today, but I really didn't feel right and I couldn't get it done. And then it's that domino effect of, okay, I didn't get this done, which means I didn't get that done, which means I can't do this. And if I don't get this done, and then it's easy to let your mind run wild. Keep in mind the baby steps. It's okay that you didn't get everything done. Did you get a little bit done? Cool. Celebrate that and say, tomorrow I'm going to do that much more. And the next day I can do a little bit more. Give yourself the opportunity to grow. We can't just do it in one day. Again, like I said, we're not flawless. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to fall a little bit on our path to redemption within ourselves, redemption with others. It happens. And it's okay. Don't expect yourself or anybody else to just flip a coin or just snap their fingers and all of a sudden everything's better. It takes some time and it takes understanding from us within ourselves and from us within our community, our friends, and those else that we know. The other thing that is important to keep in mind with forgiving yourself, and especially with others, we learn at the end of Fame and Misfortune. If it plays.
Girls, I found 2 ponies who have something I think you should hear.
We just wanted to say thank you to all of you. Yeah, our friendship? Well, we were having trouble until we read your journal. It showed us that friends can go through all sorts of tough times and come through stronger than before. It's made us better friends than we've ever been.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't tell you how much it means to hear that. Thank you for telling us. We've had a tough couple of days, but knowing we've helped fillies like you,
It makes everything we've been through worth it.
Absolutely. Fads come and go. Friendship is forever.
there are worse things than not being able to do anything without being told I'm awesome.
And we can't change the way other ponies think about us, but we can change how we let it affect us. Or how we don't let it affect us! Go ahead, laugh!
Keep in mind, you can't please everyone. There's always going to be those people that no matter what you do, how you change, how you grow, they're still going to have that something in their head. And keep in mind, it's not about pleasing everybody. It's not about making a difference in every single person's life. That is not realistic. It's one thing that honestly I've been beating myself up about, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this panel. Because I think it was last October, November, I had a thing where, you know, like I have people that I know and friends that I know that I see them do things that I'm like, I literally have done a panel that tells you how not to do this, and you keep doing the things, and yeah, am I not reaching people? Is what I do matter? And I really went within myself for a little bit, and one thing that a few friends said to me is, look at the people you have helped. Look at the people who have come up to you and said, thank you for doing this panel, or thank you for telling me about this and making me think about this episode in a different way. And it really hit home to me in that I'm not going to change the world in a day, and I'm not going to, all of a sudden give a panel and all of a sudden we won't be bombing each other. But if we can make a little bit of difference in some pony's life in the way that the journal helped those little fillies, you've made a change for the better in this world. Doing little things helps. I don't have a clip from it, but if you remember I believe it was Made in Manhattan episode, the one with Coco Pomel's theater troupe, the lesson from that is that if every pony chips in a little bit, we can all make a big difference. If everybody helps out, one person, two people in your life, if everyone does that, think about the effect that happens globally when you add up all those people who have been helped, who have received a message, who have had somebody a shoulder to cry on, somebody just give them a hug when they need it. I love giving hugs and receiving hugs. Sometimes people just need a hug. Sometimes people just need a vent. And if you can do that, you've made a difference in this world. And you matter. And you're important. And that's something to always keep in mind. So we've talked about ourselves, remembering that we're not perfect. We need to forgive ourselves. But how about those we look up to? How about those people that we hold as our personal heroes? We'll take a look at this now with one pony's big hero. And I gotta say, going to conventions, there's a lot of great guests here. a lot of great people, and they're wonderful. Has anybody, I interchanged them. Any pony this weekend gone up to one of the VIPs or gotten in line and you find yourself kind of like this?
Think fast. This is your big chance to impress her with your quick wit and courage. I am such a huge fan.
It's easy to do it because let's face facts. When we get into our role models, our heroes, we have these perceptions of them. Like they are kind of this holier than thou. And it's important to keep in mind that they are people too. All of our voice actors are people too. I'll tell you, last night at the dance, I'm out on the dance floor and I'm looking in front of me and Caitlin Bairstow was on the dance floor right in front of me. Ian Hanlon's next to her and Brenda Hickey's behind me, just chilling with us. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing. They're one of us. They're chilling and having a good time, the same as everyone else. And that's what I love about a lot of the people in this community, and a lot of not just people just in the community and community guests and such from your YouTubers and whatnot, but the show staff itself loves coming here, loves interacting with us. Like if you pass Larson on the hallway and you're like, sign me, he'll probably do it. I've seen him do it. So I've yet to be signed, but that's mainly because I want him to always sign other things. But he has signed, I think he signed one of the writer's nieces or something like that one time. And I remember them tweeting, "You've gone too far, Mitch. You've crossed the line." I love how no one's surprised either. But one thing that I always like to talk about is kind of perceptions throughout history. I really like classical mythology, a lot of Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Egyptian mythology. I love it. And one thing that really sticks out to me is if you look through ancient myths, ancient Greek myths especially, Greek and Roman, because the one that comes to mind is Heracles, aka Hercules, but there's a lot of other ones. Their heroes are flawed. They make mistakes and they overcome them. And that's one thing that speaks to me about those that I look up to, is a matter of they're not flawless either. They're going to make mistakes. We have a tendency as a society when a celebrity does something wrong to be like, oh my gosh, let's cut them off, they're ruined, their career is over, they're done. And I'm always like, we don't know 100% what happened. Now granted, some things are egregious. Some things are to the point where I'm like, okay, no, get his butt to jail. But if somebody just does a little slip up, has a problem, one that comes to my mind, honestly, is, for example, people who have problems with drugs and alcohol. Alcoholism is a disease, and people get addicted to things, and it's horrible, and it's tough. And speaking as somebody who has done some not so savory things in my past, and I learned from my mistakes. Again, like we talked about earlier, is that learning from your mistakes. You don't just have to do that, other people have to do that. Your heroes, your role models, the people in the spotlight are going to go through those challenges too. And who I really look to through this? I have a couple people I like to point out that I hold very high regard for, and it's one is Robert Downey Jr. That man went through some stuff. He had some issues. He did some not so savory things. And look at him now. He recovered, he sobered up, he rebuilt his career, he made amends for what he did, and now he's Iron Man. And, it's one of those things, and that's a great story. I love that. And that's that thing that I look up to people that can do that, because I think the biggest part of what makes somebody a hero is when they can overcome those bumps in the road, the things that might, that are going to be like, I made a mistake. I think the biggest thing you can admit as a person that makes you a hero in my eyes is, I was wrong. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to admit you were wrong. It's one of the most powerful things you can do because it frees you. It's like, I was wrong. Now I don't have to hold myself up to that expectation. Now, sometimes the other thing to keep in mind too, like I said, that perception about our heroes that they are going to be flawless, perfect. They can't do everything alone.
Help me get all these rings off. If we can remove the giant ring at the bottom, the whole fortress will collapse.
Was this your plan all along?
I had to find a way to get into the fortress.
You did it on purpose? But I thought...
Didn't count on how heavy this ring would be, though. Because having a little help can be handy sometimes.
Daring Do couldn't have done that by herself. She thought she could, but she couldn't. It's important to remember and keep that in mind. We all need help sometimes, and it's okay to reach out and ask for that help. Doesn't make you any less of a person. Didn't make her any less of a pony to admit to Rainbow Dash in that moment. I guess it is good to have some help. You know, I can't do everything alone, and that was the big thing from that episode. She kept saying, I work alone, but then when she opened herself up to it, she got it done. And you can only imagine what could have happened if she tried to lift that ring by herself. I don't think it would have happened. So, going along with that, we're going to keep on with Daring Do. Talk about another time that we saw her and some things that happened.
My last quest took me to a village in southern Equestria, where I started seeing these.
Wake of Destruction, Daring Do ruins entire village marketplace. Dare or scare? Local rogue Daring Do involved in frightful fiasco. Daring Do leads Bull into China shop during high-speed chase.
That's enough! Every pony I tried to help is mad at me.
So all we have to do is go down there and explain to these ponies that none of this stuff is true. Easy peasy cheesy.
But that's just the thing. It is true.
What?
I guess I've always been so focused on saving priceless relics and stopping the bad guys that I never really thought about the mess I leave behind.
Then you are in a tricky pickle. But why is all this happening now?
I guess ponies are finally fed up. Either way, I'm done with adventures. Having or writing.
Heroes aren't flawless either. They're going to make mistakes, even in the pursuit of something good. Much like what we talked about earlier with amending fences, where Twilight was pursuing something good and still hurt someone. Daring Do is so focused on getting the priceless relic. She writes these books, she does all these amazing things, but there's consequences to actions. And it's important to recognize that, and it's something she hadn't done up until this point. All these things she did had side effects, that there are things that got destroyed. Did anybody attend the guest of honor panel yesterday? And there's that part that they put in there about like all the mess that's left behind. I was so glad they did that. You don't see that very much. There's always that thing of like, you do something major, sometimes there's a little bit of that mess afterward. It's acknowledging that, being able to clean it up. And a lot of times we kind of overlook that because like these people our role models or heroes tend to be like these godlike figures. They can do anything and whatever, you know, we don't think about the consequences to the actions. Even when they have good intentions, sometimes there are other things that get left behind, and it's important to realize that in the end.
I saw an opportunity to write you out of the story for good! And with the destruction you leave in your wake, it didn't take too much to convince ponies you were a villain!
You're wrong, Cabaleron. And I won't let you break my spirit again. Because I'm never gonna give up hope that I can protect ponies and ancient treasures from miscreants like you. Thanks for helping me come to my senses. You two are true friends.
Are you kidding? That was awesome! We're just glad you're back to your old self again.
Me too. But I'm glad I realized that even if you're fighting for something good, you're still responsible for your actions.
And if something bad happens that you didn't intend, you shouldn't give up hope or lose faith in yourself. Yeah! All you gotta do is make it right. Feel free to use that in your next book.
You know, I think I will.
I don't think I can say it better than what they said there. It really, it's owning up to what happens, realizing it, having the ability to have that sight of, I need to make amends, I need to make things right. Sometimes things are going to mess up. It's kind of noticing the themes going through this. We're going to mess up. We can make the baby steps, make the amends, make everything right again, make everything whole. And that's the sign of a true hero. You know, there's always going to be stumbling blocks. There's always going to be things. You just use those stepping stones. Admit when things go wrong. Build yourself back up. Make the amends. I don't think there's anything that can make a hero or a role model stronger than that. And that's why I really like Daring Do. That's why I like Robert Downey Jr. You know what else I love too is Weird Al. Weird Al is awesome. Yeah. You know, like he had his biggest hit ever. There was a miscommunication between, was Amish Paradise, by the way, between Coolio's people and his people, where he said no, and Al didn't know, and he really, you know, and it was his biggest hit ever. And then Coolio was like, dude, no. I said no, and Al was like, no, I feel terrible, I gotta do something, I gotta reach out. And that man has continued, and he's strengthened himself, and he is still honestly, I think he's making his best music now than he ever has, which is just awesome. And he was on Pony. That always helps. Yay. So, speaking of making amends, let's get to redemption. And who better to use to talk about redemption than these two? Huh? So, redemption is a big theme in the show. Let's talk about how the process happens, shall we?
You will never rule in Equestria. Any power you may have had in this world is gone. Tonight, you've shown everyone who you really are. You've shown them what is in your heart.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know there was another way.
The magic of friendship doesn't just exist in Equestria. It's everywhere. You can seek it out, or you can forever be alone. The choice is yours.
But all I've ever done since being here is drive everyone apart. I don't know the first thing about friendship.
I bet they can teach you.
The big thing with Sunset is she shows instant remorse for what she did. That key line of, I didn't know there was another way. She thought the only way to get what she wanted is just by seeking power. Those of you who are early enough, we played My Past Is Not Today before the panel started, and she sings in that song about, you know, she thought there was only one way to get this power, to have this ambition, and it took having these friends to get her to realize. But honestly, even before she made the friends, that is in mid-transition. Those are tears. She does not like what is happening and what she's becoming. And I had a friend who, a good friend of mine, who really broke down this movie in some panels and really talked about the fact of how it seems that Sunset's plan, she just wants the power, but everything goes awry, and after she gets the crown on her, it's like it corrupts her. And she goes from, I just want power, to, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to rule everyone. And she has this pain in her eyes that continues, that when she's defeated and she's like, I can't believe I did this and went too far. Having that remorse is such an important thing. You know, now, there are sometimes we've had our villains where that doesn't happen.
When Twilight and her friends defeated me, I chose to run away and seek revenge. You don't have to. You can be the leader your subjects deserve.
There is no revenge you could ever conceive of that will come close to what I will exact upon you one day, Starlight Glimmer!
So that's not how to show remorse. I want to talk about something, social science concept, social psychology, sociology, it also I say, called the actor-observer effect. The way that breaks down essentially is that we have this tendency within ourselves when we're analyzing something that we see that's awry in the world, a problem that's happening. If it's a problem that's happening to us, we have a tendency in our brain to go, something is wrong with the world. Now, when we see something that happens to someone else, we go, something is wrong with them. It's kind of a way that our brain is basically trained to protect our self-image, our self-esteem. That's the word I was looking for. Our self-esteem. I had a professor once tell me that about 90% of all human behavior can be explained as an attempt to protect our own self-esteem. And think about this with the scene we just saw with Chrysalis there. As she's looking at this, Starlight gives her that chance, that moment, and saying, you know, you can be the leader your people need. They needed this. They found another way. You can still be good and be a part of this. And how does Chrysalis react? She rejects it instantly and she goes, no, you've messed up my kingdom. I'm going to get revenge on you. And it's one thing that Starlight, of all people, knows because she had the exact same reaction at the end of the cutie map. You know, it's not that there is an ability to bring people and ponies together, you know, with still having their cutie marks, with still having their talents, that we can get along. She rejected it instantly. It's like, no, you did me wrong. I'm rejecting you. It's a thing to keep in mind within yourselves. When you're analyzing something you think is wrong with the world or something that happens to you, you have to be able to admit sometimes that maybe I did something wrong, or maybe I made a mistake. It doesn't make you a bad person. We all make mistakes. We all do these things. Keep in mind, sometimes the problem is external, sometimes it's internal. Be open to both possibilities, no matter what's happening around you. And let's face it, the other thing that I want to talk about here is just the acknowledgement that the characters that have been redeemed have of their mistakes. Admitting your mistakes. Because, let's face it, Starlight and Sunset have almost become, in my eyes, better than Twilight sometimes at helping other characters to see their flaws and make amends. And we'll look at it here.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We've all been there.
Really? Manipulated an entire town into giving up their talents so they wouldn't think they were special. Overpowered by magic I couldn't control and created a rift between two worlds, almost destroying both of them in the process.
Turned an entire school into my own personal zombie army in hopes of conquering a distant pony world.
Wow, we are a really forgiving group.
The acknowledgement. They've been through this, and they know what it's like. It's not just to this extreme, though. Every one of you have faced a challenge in your life. We can all relate to one another in some way. We've all had to overcome some great obstacles, some challenge in our life that has made us go, you know, I can be better. Being able to acknowledge that and have these discussions with our friends, keeping our friendships strong within that, it's the best thing you can do. Having these discussions and saying, I know what it's like. I've been there. It's really comforting in times to know, you know, you're not the only one. Hell, when I figured out, like, when I first discovered this show, for example, and, you know, I watched an episode, and then I was like, okay, I watched the second episode, and then I watched another episode, and then I'm like, holy crap, I'm a brony, aren't I? And did anybody else have that thing where you felt like you were the only one around? I had that so bad. And then I went to my first pony convention, and I'm like, I found my people. It's easy sometimes for us to feel alone. Realize that you're never alone. There's always someone out there who will understand your pain and what you're going through. You know, we're all unique, we all go through unique challenges, but we can identify still with similar things within ourselves. That acknowledgement builds our friendships even stronger and kind of puts those bridges up to make us go behind different cultures, behind different ideologies to say, you know what, I went through this and you may not have gone through the same thing, but it's similar, and let's talk about this, and let's build a bridge between what I think and what you think, and let's come together, because I bet you we have more in common than we think. So, the one thing I like to I put in here is I want to remind people that bad people do good things sometimes, and good people do bad things. It's always important to keep in mind, because sometimes it goes the other way. You have bad people that do good things.
It's a lot of work keeping every pony fighting, but as long as I keep them convinced that I'm their only friend, all of Las Vegas's will be mine. Oh, you can't trick a confession out of a pony like me. I am always one step ahead.
Well, you better check your hooves, because you just stepped in a confession.
Oh, no. Oh, no, wait.
Did that sound okay?
Never better!
Flamin' Flam told us you'd see right through the fake rich Ponyville, and that once you did, you wouldn't be able to resist gloating about it. This was all part of the plan.
Wait! No! Y'all come back! Come on, I'm gonna be ruined! This is Glad Man, yo! Come on, you can't do this!
It must have felt pretty nice to finally put all your conniving and cheating skills to good use.
In fact, we like to think of it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Emphasis on the once.
What do you mean?
While this establishment undergoes a slight change in management, my brother and I want to assure you that it remains the pinnacle of Las Vegas's entertainment, which is why we invite each and every one of you to experience the wonder of the Pony Fantastic Theater at half the normal cost of admission.
And while you're appreciating this historic venue, totally devoid of performance of any kind, we invite you to use the wonder of your own imaginations to fill the space at no additional charge.
Taking action is the biggest thing about redemption. You have to take those steps. Even if they're the baby steps we talked about earlier, you have to make them. Look, let's go back to Rainbow Rocks, for example. Sunset is taking those steps. She's trying to embody being better. She volunteers to take the new students on a tour. Granted, she didn't know they were villains, but, you know, she still did a good thing. She's trying to do those things to make people see that she's getting better. And she's trying to make herself believe it, too. She really had a challenge in that movie. She got challenged a lot of, like, have you really changed? Are people really going to accept you? You have to do those baby steps. You have to take action. Flim and Flam are not going to take action. They did a good thing one time. But it's clearly obvious that they're not going to go back. They're not going to keep doing that. And that's one of those things you have to take in. A lot of times it's great to have, you know, it's great to make those friendships and have people be redeemed. Every once in a while there's going to be that person that's not going to do it. Remember that, you know, and take care of yourself first and foremost, no matter what. You can't change everybody. You can't make everybody be what you want them to be. As much as we want everybody to be redeemed, there's going to be every once in a while there might be that person. Keep that in mind. Take care of yourself. I always hope that everybody can become a better version of themselves, but I recognize too that sometimes bad people do a good thing. Take action. Sunset took action. Starlight took action. Starlight took a lot of actions, and now she's one of my favorite ponies, period. Because, let's face it, they use their experience to their advantage. And that's what we can all do. I encourage all of you as you go throughout life, you go throughout this weekend, think about what you've done, where you've been. Think about the low places and admit that they happened. Think about the challenges you overcame. Think about something you're struggling with right now. There's always a struggle every day, and every single one of us have our own in our own ways. Think about it, work on it, have conversations, open up to your friends. It makes your friendship stronger. And that, more than anything else, is what I call keeping friendship magic. Thank you all for coming. We only have a couple of minutes left, but if anybody wants to bring up anything or ask questions or anything, feel free. Otherwise, I really thank you guys for coming and listening to this dorky guy from Pennsylvania talk about science and ponies. It's what I do. It's what I love. I do have a couple of business cards left. I do have a Patreon, too, if you want to see me get to more conventions. It's patreon.com/KFM for Keeping Friendship Magic. It's easy to remember. Otherwise, you can feel free to just take a snapshot of that and keep in contact with me. I love making friends at conventions. Otherwise, go forth and be the best ponies you can be. Thank you. Yes?
I had a quick question. Going way back to like stress and anxiety, and you mentioned in your example how someone called their boss and said, I need to take you on mental health break. That's awesome for them, and like I have an awesome boss, most people don't.
It's
Most
true,
people don't
you're not
get,
wrong.
like, sick days or vacation days, and some of you are minors, but some of you are actual adults like we are and have jobs and careers. And if you have a boss that won't let you do that, or you don't have sick time, I mean, some people, if you don't show up, you get fired. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts or tips on how to try and keep your stress and anxiety down when you can't take that time off.
There's definitely some things you can do. I've taken a couple of yoga classes and I love it. It is fantastic for reducing stress. Ingrid actually teaches yoga. And I'm just kind of sad she didn't do a yoga class at this con because I've taken it at previous cons she's been at. But I love it because it really is an outlet. I think there's little things you can do. It's finding kind of like a core something that works for you. Some people do breathing exercises. That really helps me sometimes with anxiety moments, is kind of a 4-part breathing. Kind of you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Through the nose, out the mouth. It can help if you can, because it's kind of a matter of centering yourself. It's hard to do sometimes, especially anything with meditation really helps, but it's difficult sometimes because you almost have to kind of force yourself, sit there and just force yourself to just be at peace for a little bit. The breathing thing is the one thing that I think that helps me the most in the moment. The other thing, and sometimes especially at work it could be hard, is trying to reach out to somebody to just be like, I need a venting moment. It can be hard depending on what your job is. Like, I can't take my cell phone into work, so it doesn't work that well for me. That's why I try to do the 4-part breathing. Or, just have that thing where you're just trying to kind of... I've literally gone into an empty spot at work and just yelled. I've done that just to get it out, just to be like, I have this build up in me and I need an outlet. And I think that's the biggest thing, is find an outlet that works for you. Some people use stress balls, some people use fidget spinners. I really wish that didn't become such a tacky thing. I wish it had stayed what its original intention was to really help people. And if that's what you need it for, do not be ashamed and do not let anybody mock you for it. You have every right to use your fidget spinner, fidget cube, whatever it is, despite the trend of the tacky whatever cliches now. Do whatever works for you. And I think the yoga thing really helps if you can fit it into your schedule.
If you can afford it.
Yeah.
Some people here may have low-paying jobs or no job at all if you're kids.
Some YouTube videos can help. It depends on where you're at with yourself. I took some in college, so it kind of got me the start, but I know that there are some YouTube videos that just say, be careful, know your body's limits more than anything else. Don't do anything that's going to push your body over what it can do. Anything else from anyone else? Cool. All right, thank you guys for coming. Enjoy the rest of your con. I know there's not too much time left, but get out there and be awesome. Awesome as you want to be. Yay!